This is becoming really real to me, watching the way that these countries are lining up in unison and coordination, and the acceleration of the deals that are being struck, and the stupidity of our leaders and the decisions that they are making and the moves that they are making, destabilizing this country greater and greater and greater every single day. Now the number's up to 17 million that they're saying have entered this country illegally. Put that in perspective. 3% is over 500,000 people that could, want to do harm to this country. That's an army, more than a big army. And, 10,000 people per state that want to screw with the country. Is that real? Could that happen? That's only just a few percent.
Welcome back, my friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are here with Andy Schectman for another weekly episode, going over your questions again. I know you guys really enjoyed that last time. I made a couple posts for you guys, and we'll be going through it. If you guys wanted to reach out, I have great deals for you guys right now. We have backdated kangaroos, $310 over spot. We have 90% silver, $3 over spot. We have buffaloes, $235 over spot. We have 10-ounce bars, lowest $225. We have kilo bars, lowest $205. Anything and everything, we got it, and I could probably match it if I can't beat it. So email me, slayer@milesfranklin.com, or call me 330-485-6172. Andy, it's good to see you again. What's up? What do you want to talk about first?
Whatever you want, buddy. There's a lot going on, man, but it's good to be back. Good to see you too, brother.
Yeah, I know we were talking a little bit beforehand on, the Shanghai and stuff that's going on. So actually, real quick, before we jump into that, I'm sure there's tons of people that are curious on what's your take on silver right now. What do you think silver is going to do? I know so many people ask me that.
Well, it closed today in Shanghai at $36.01, a 4.25 or a greater arbitrage opportunity. I would say they can't hold this down any longer. I think you could argue, although I hate to use this cliche-ish word, but you could argue that a silver squeeze is very possible, if not probable. I would argue that silver and gold and commodities in general, as Zoltan Pozar has told us, are becoming more valuable than currency. It's as if the silver and gold markets seem to be playing by a new set of rules, that he or she who has the metals wins or makes the rules, and really, especially in silver. And we can dig into that today. There was a phrase that he who has the gold makes the rules, and we are entering a period of time where currency is becoming less valuable because not only is it being inflated away, but what stands behind it? Nothing. But the U.S. government's ability to tax and throw you in jail for not paying your taxes. We're broke, we're insolvent, we're weaponizing the dollar around the world in the treasury market, as we've spoken about ad nauseum. In fact, one of the things we should talk about as we continue this dialogue is recent comments by Jeffrey Curry. And for those of you who don't remember who Jeffrey Curry is, he's a big name in the silver space recently, or over the last couple of years. He's the former head of commodity trading globally for Goldman Sachs. He's now no longer there anymore. I think he's at the Carlyle Group. But he was talking the last time we had a silver squeeze. He was interviewed on CNBC and said that the silver market can't be squeezed by the public because the public buys the ETFs, and the ETFs are the shorts. He said that the ETFs turn around and sell the physical market into the COMEX to hedge that physical position. This is about as big of a fuck up faux pas as you could possibly make, because the trust is holding an investment, in essence. That nothing needs to be hedged. If it goes up, it goes down. There's a winner, there's a loser. No hedge. Someone like myself who holds an inventory that they're trying to sell for a business must hedge it, because if you guess wrong and it goes down, you can be put out of business. But the trust should have no dog in the fight, shouldn't be hedging. And when he said that, what he basically said is that they are selling their client metal into the market to drive down the paper price, to manage the price. But anyways, Jeffrey had some interesting things to say about what we're going to talk about here today regarding silver and what's been happening. But yeah, I think that silver in particular, it's not going to be a easy bull run to the moon. But when you realize I compared to the on the London Metals Exchange, the silver market is only 3% the size of the gold market, right? 3%. And in terms of trading volume, dollar wise. And so it's a small market that can be easily manipulated. But I would say this as a theme to what we're going to talk about today, and a real theme is that you can only manipulate a market for a very extended period of time by push it in the direction that it is going. And for a long time, it was easy to manipulate the market, commodity market, because no one wanted them, but for the ability to do certain things, not certainly as an investment or a broad-based investment. And so it was easy to suppress the price of gold and silver, the canary in the mine shaft. But when the whole world is trying to get the physical, as Zoltan Pozar said eloquently in 2020, this is a new system based on commodities and transparency, not opaque debt promises. And look at what the Chinese are doing. They're winning the mineral war. I mean, they truly are. They are winning the mineral. They are buying up everything across the globe in terms of things that are not nailed down, and even future production. And that was the title of it. I mean, I use that name, winning the mineral war, because that was an article that just came out of the Wall Street Journal. China has many advantages in the race to lock up minerals. Its miners are deep pocketed and aggressive, making bets in resource rich countries that Western companies have long viewed as corrupt or unstable, such as Indonesia, Mali, Bolivia, and Zimbabwe. State banks provide financing for power plants and industrial parks abroad, paving the way for future private Chinese investment. That's the article that I was reading. And they are winning the mineral war. But this is a new game, a new ball game. And I guess what I would really simply say that surprises me the most about all of this is that the lack of understanding by the West, and more than that, almost um, it's one of these deals where I'm shocked how there just is the underestimation of the consequences of this, what it really does mean. I think it's something that's getting really, 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 really late in the game. And I think as we get closer to the election and the big BRICS meeting, we're going to see things that people would have thought impossible to be seen. So, yeah, let's talk about silver. I think there's a lot to talk about there today.
Yeah, I agree. I've always looked at this from a much bigger picture. A lot of people, because I talk to people on a daily basis on the phone, and you hear the ones that are very new because they will see the price go down 50 or 60 cents within a day or two, and they'll start panicking and they'll start, second guessing things. And it's like you're looking at this from a way too minimal perspective, not hour, day, week. It should be year, decade to decade perspective. If the price is $34 or $31 right now, it doesn't matter. It's still above 30, which was a strong resistance level. So now, since we broke above it and it's sitting above it, that means it is going to be easier to go higher and harder to go lower, when before it was harder to go higher and easier to go lower because it didn't break past that. We just broke past 12-year highs. Like, that's a big deal. But still, at the end of the day, $33 silver is pennies to what we're talking about. I mean, look at your shirt. They're not backing up and looking at the macro like I try to always share.
For me,
Going
that's
on,
the most important thing is the macro. It really is.
yeah, looking at this, we were talking about yesterday, or actually today, 6 hours ago, this article came out. China celebrates Memorial Day by draining 33 tons from the Shanghai vaults yesterday. So here's an
You're talking about
article.
gold in that article?
Yeah, gold. Yeah.
So let's start with gold. You know, 2 weeks ago, Friday, $571 million worth of gold kilo bars, or 243,000 plus ounces, were delivered to out of COMEX into Brinks, Hong Kong, COMEX. They were delivered out of the system. Someone delivered them to Brinks, Hong Kong. And I might have mentioned this on your show before. There is a Brinks facility in Hong Kong that is part of the COMEX. When you realize that, who's got $571 million to spend on gold, who's going to take possession of all those kilos? If you take 243,054, and you divide it by 32.15, I guarantee it comes out to a round number. By 32.15, 7,560 kilobars of gold. So what they're doing is they are using the Western suppression. They are, see, it's important to understand that a lot of these players trade on what's called the over-the-counter market, the OTC. Like the London Metals Exchange is an OTC. It's much more opaque. There's much less regulation. There's much greater transparency. We're not sure who these are. Now, this is the COMEX, so there's a little more transparency. People think it was HSBC Bank that was doing this, but they took possession of, in essence, 7,560 kilobars of gold. Now, when it gets delivered to Brinks, Hong Kong, and evidently the only things that get delivered to Brinks, Hong Kong are exchanged for physical contracts, where they buy the contract in the West and deliver it in the East using the suppressed Western prices to do this. This is how they're beating us at our game, at the game. Anyway, so they it gets trucked over to the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And this is how a country like Iran would sidestep sanctions, selling their oil to China for yuan and converting it into the gold on the Shanghai Gold Exchange. The yuan is immediately convertible into it. So when you think about gold as an example, I'm going to shut my ringer off here. I don't want it to ring. That's exactly what is happening. At least you're seeing massive drawdowns in both gold and silver using the Western suppression in order to do it. But a lot of it is happening in silver too. And I don't think people quite get this. Um, so one of the things to keep in mind about metal coming off of Shanghai, gold in particular, you can't export gold out of Shanghai out of China, unless you first deposit one of your own bars into it. So you can't really export gold traded on the Shanghai Gold Exchange unless you put it on there to begin with. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. Silver, on the other hand, can be exported, right? And I don't know if you've done a story or not recently about the four commercial banks that just showed up at the Shanghai Gold Exchange in March. Did you hear about that?
I don't think so.
I've been hearing all about this. There was a great interview by a guy named David Jensen, really opened my eyes to this, and I did my own digging. And there's been a lot of talk about. First of all, there's been a lot of talk about global inventories disappearing. I've been saying it for 2 years now, screaming it, that we're being bled dry using the suppression of the market. And now, if you look at the LBMA, it has the second lowest stockpile of silver it's had in 140 years. COMEX is being bled dry too. Yeah, there has been an uptick in registered to 60 million ounces, but that usually is indicative of some future deliveries they know they have coming. But the point of it is that there was all this talk of bullion bankers suddenly showing up at the Shanghai Gold Exchange. And if you go onto their website, you will see that for 4 straight weeks, starting the second week of March, that's exactly what happened. First, you had the Deutsche Bank show up there, then HSBC Bank, then JP Morgan, and then Standard Chartered Bank. These are the big four banks that are suppressing the hell out of the silver market. The question should be why? Do you think there could be a coincidence that not only have the London stockpiles been drained to record lows, they say they have 800 million ounces of silver in London, of which 500 million belongs to the ETFs. That leaves 300 million. There's roughly 300 million ounces on COMEX, of which only 60 million is registered. So you could then extrapolate, you have roughly 360 million ounces of silver that is readily tradable between the two exchanges. But the thing is that since March, since that first week, you can see the drawdown in the Shanghai stockpile of silver as well. And since they started coming there, it's as if they went there knowing that you can't export gold, but you can export silver. They're coming there asking for help with silver. I think they think they're getting squeezed. And it's important to understand. Let's put this in context, right? Um, India has imported over 500 million ounces in the past 2.5 years. And to put that in reference, the registered COMEX silver inventories are roughly 60 million ounces, but rehypothecated some 1,600%, meaning sold over and over and over and over again, 16 to 1 minimum. And as I mentioned, the silver stockpiles at the LBMA are at pretty damn close to 140-year low. What I would simply say is that the long-standing trend of gold and silver being determined by the Western institutions is breaking down. And I'm going to try and show you that, what I mean. So, as I mentioned, the LBMA is OTC market. London Bullion Metals Association is an OTC market, over the counter, opaque, transparent, not transparent, lack of regulations. It's where the big boys play. And when you talk about how much metal is flowing in and out of here, you just had a report by the Financial Times saying that especially what is being accumulated by Russia and China is massively underreported. You had analysts from the Bank of Montreal just say the exact same thing, that the numbers are vastly underreported. But let's talk about something for a moment. First of all, let's talk about the LBMA. They publish monthly reporting, trading volume. And as I mentioned, 800 million ounces of silver, 500 million belong to the ETFs, 300 million ounces left over. Yet they trade roughly 292 million ounces of silver per day. This is just the LBMA. 292 million ounces per day. These spot contracts, as they're called, which are basically promises by the bullion banks, represent 90% of all the trading there. So yeah, I'm Standard Charter Bank or I'm HSBC. Sure, I'll sell you whatever you want, but I don't have it, and you don't have to pay for it. We're going to pretend, right? I'm going to pretend that you own it, and you're going to pretend to pay for it by maintaining a margin account. Well, if you want delivery, I'll give it to you, but let's just hope everyone doesn't want delivery. Ask Bernie Madoff how that worked out when everyone wanted delivery or everyone wanted to receive it. The Ponzi works great in a fractionalized system when not everyone wants to take it. Now, they also trade 20 million ounces of gold a day. Well, let's put that in comparison just to give you a perspective. Remember, I said you have to deposit a bar in Shanghai gold in order to pull a bar out. So their average volume is 300,000 ounces because it's real and you take possession of the stuff, right? Whereas now, if you're in China or you're part of the team, you can probably take it and go do whatever you want with it. But to export it, buy it and export it like they do off of COMEX, no, you got to deposit a bar first. So they're doing 300,000 ounces in real stuff. And let's not forget that when you take the average daily volume of the Shanghai Metals Exchange and the Shanghai Gold Exchange, which has increased 200% in the last 60 days, it has overtaken the COMEX to number 2 in the world in volume behind the LBMA. This is not a little pissant place. This is a very substantial market. And there was a survey done in 2011 with the bullion banks where they said, well, the numbers are actually 10 times what they're saying. Because if I am a bullion bank and I sell you 20 contracts and buy 5, the net result is 15. Excuse me, let's do it this way. If I sell you 20 and I buy 10, the net result is 10. And so they don't count that as 30 contracts. They take it as only 10. So all of these trades, they're not reporting that are being settled. And so they estimate that it's at least 10 times the trading volume on the LBMA than what they report, which would mean they're trading roughly 292 million ounces of gold a day. And excuse me, I take that back. That would mean, let's back this up. In terms of gold, they would be trading 200 million ounces of gold per day. Sorry, 200 million ounces of gold per day. And in silver, 2.92 billion ounces of silver per day on the London Metals Exchange. And in essence, they've admitted this. The LBMA has admitted this. And so when you talk about trading 2.9 billion ounces of silver per day on the LBMA, that's 3.5 times yearly production in one day. This jig is coming to an end, and I think these countries realize this is how we beat them. We beat them by taking physical possession. Now, let's talk about silver for one moment. I believe that these banks came there to beg them for help. And if you look at the export numbers in silver since the second week in March, they've fallen straight down. I believe there's a quid pro quo going on. We don't know what agreement they agreed to. It's not being done out of benevolence. Can assure you that. But they're doing something to get silver so they don't default, if I had to guess. This is the gist of David Jensen's interview, which I found to be fascinating. And, look, the act of permitting all of these paper claims on the market creates an environment where the ability to manage gold and silver's price rise is accentuated through the creation of all of these artificial contracts. And in a period of time, remember I was saying you can push it in the direction it's going. Back when no one wanted to challenge the dollar, no one wanted to accumulate commodities, no one was looking at the world the way they are now, it was easy to do it. Now they're in large part being called under the carpet, to your point. All of that gold being delivered off of the exchange, all of the gold being delivered to the exchange off of COMEX, all of the silver being drained by all of the exchanges. Slowly and methodically, they are using the Western suppression against them. They are not doing it in a haphazard way. They are not doing it in a shotgun style to cut off their nose to spite their face. They're methodical, they're regimented, they are slowly draining the exchanges. And when you see all of this activity being done over the Memorial Day weekend when the American public doesn't have access to the market, why, it only makes it a little bit more compelling as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, dude, I don't look. I just think the bottom line is simply this: knowing that you can't really export gold out of China without first putting your own bar in there ain't gonna work. But you can export silver, and all of a sudden, big bullion banks start showing up, the ones that are naked shorting the market. And you can see in the inventory numbers that which are dropping in both gold and silver, but silver mostly since March, that this is real. And there's going to become a moment where these banks start eating one another, where it's every man for himself. Um, and I guess this is just the beginning, if I had to guess. But I'll let you comment, and then I'll tell you what Jeffrey Curry had to say about all of this to kind of support and back things up.
Yeah, I mean, ironically, some of the most popular comments or questions, I guess, that were pushed towards you are about this same exact topic. I try to let people understand that this is real. There is not an equal 1-to-1 ratio. Like, if you can't hold it, you don't own it. And I've always stuck with that motto. Like, if you can't hold it, you don't own it. And that ounce that you are holding, someone else thinks they own it too, but they don't. I feel like people don't understand that facade or how dramatic it really is. So what were you mentioning?
Well, I was going to mention Jeffrey Curry, but I can take some questions and we can come back to Jeffrey Curry. That's fine.
Oh yeah, because since we're still on the topic, this person says at the current rate of silver moving off the COMEX, how long until available for delivery is depleted?
I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
Those are impossible to answer questions. So,
yeah,
what if questions are impossible to answer?
yeah.
But the fact that we're seeing drawdowns in the COMEX, in the ETFs, in the LBMA, now the Shanghai Exchange tells you that, little by little by little, and then that all at once moment, well, it's coming. The inevitability of it is. And that's what I think is the important thing to think about is that who cares? I mean, and I don't mean to dismiss the question. Everyone would like to know, but who cares when you know it's
Yeah,
inevitable?
yeah,
Um, and I think the inevitability of things it necessitates the preparation. And if we knew when, if we all knew when we were going to die, well, it would make buying life insurance a lot easier and getting our affairs in order earlier. But the inevitability of it necessitates as we get older to start preparing. Well, I would say we're getting older as it relates to this market and the ability of the West to continue to suppress things. And I really do believe that more than anything at all, that the Western system is of price setting is coming to an end. And
mm,
I think the trend of metals being determined by the Western institutional investors is breaking down. And this flow from west to east, it's real. So know that, what starts out slowly and methodically is already increasing. Look at the price of the difference in the arbitrage. Like it was $2 when it started. It was silver was $2 higher than in Shanghai than in the West, and then three, then four. Now we're at about $4.30. Does it keep going higher? Does it go to five, 10? They're not making it easy on the West. That's for sure. If they are coming asking for silver, they're going to pay a hell of a premium. But I do think that this is something that will just continue to evolve, and the when is impossible to ascertain. But the it happening, that's not. I think you can see it is
Yeah.
happening right here in front of us.
Yeah, that's the important part. And like Ted Butler always mentions as well. It's like this will happen. It cannot go on forever. So this person says, Andy, is the reporting that silver purchased in China at the higher price range can only be redeemed in China? And how big of a factor is the west to east arbitrage scenario?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the price they're willing to pay for it for now. You would not want to buy it at that price in China and redeem it anywhere else, and vice versa. If you had your druthers, you would buy it here and redeem it there. That's being
Yeah.
done by design. That's how they do arbitrage it. They say that the price, and I could think, quite frankly, if you ask them what the real price is, they would say it's way higher. But fugazi is what they would say if they spoke Italian. But
Hmm.
Italian slang, but I think that this is how you steal basically the metal from the West, not steal, but pry away, because they're paying a hell of a premium, and the traders who can access both markets are doing just that, to arbitrage. And but how real is it? It's very real and it's very serious. The United Kingdom published a report, the government did a year ago or so or less, that said we're really in a bad place in Great Britain because we're so reliant on all these other countries for so many critical things that we need, rare earths and precious metals and certain commodities, and you don't want to be in that position. Well, the Chinese are winning this mineral war. They are. And they are going around the world, not only accumulating everything they can off of the major exchanges, but through the Belt Road. All of the countries that are on the Belt Road and part of the BRICS are massively resource rich. So they come in and they industrialize them. And all the naysayers in the world can say what they want. They are doing things in a cooperative manner. They're not holding a gun to anyone's head. They're giving them the opportunity. Now, if they mismanage the loans that they are making or getting made to them, or 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 doing things that some people say is not making the Belt Road as glamorous as some would say, I disagree completely. They are uniting what is right now almost 80% of human population and a growing coalition. And you put it together with the BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the Eurasian Economic Union, you're talking the majority of human population, three of the four largest nuclear arsenals, the majority of global GDP, the majority of the world's shipping lanes, the majority of all the world's commodities, all of them, from food to rare earths to, and then they go out and the Chinese buy the LME, the London Metals Exchange, which trades all the base metals. I mean, you can see it's happening. If you don't, you're going to really wake up a victim. And I think trying to time this is about as foolish as it gets. It's like trying to catch a bullet with your bare hand. It's just not smart.
So I found a interesting one that we missed the last time. This is from Robert. Do you think that the precious metal industry and local farming and food production businesses should actively club together to create physical marketplace and promote local fair value and price discovery outside both fiat monetary system and, more importantly, finance industry retail infrastructure, debit and credit cards, point of sale devices, etc., but more localized networking and in-person transactions?
That's a tough question. I think you're going to see a change in the way things or commerce is transacted. I think that, I don't know how it all unfolds. I don't know what happens if there's an instant replacement. Certainly I think you want to bring the communities together. People talk about having silver. If the whole thing breaks down, maybe you're trading in silver for a little while before a new system is up and running, one that's probably backed by commodities. If it is a blockchain, a stable coin, or some form of trading, it will be done with some form of immutability to it because the trust has been shattered of the current system. At least at that point, it would be. And if I understand the question right, I would think he's, this is why you own physical cryptocurrency in your own possession. This is why you own physical metals in your own possession, to give you liquidity to transition to the new system, whatever that new system is, and to be reliant upon dollar bills, which you can't get out of the ATMs and it seems no one holds anymore. When the system breaks down, what are you going to trade with? Where is your utility, your flexibility, your liquidity? So I'm not sure if I got that question right or not, but I think I do. I just think that I'd rather be prepared for the uneventuality of whatever comes, knowing that it's inevitable, not knowing how it shakes out. If you need your metal, you're damn glad you have it. If not, it will give you a bridge to the new system and allow you to pass money on to your future generations that will be money in the year 3000, just like they were, 5,000 years ago.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a common thing I see between people is trying to figure out what the new system would look like and where gold and silver's position would be inside of it. And it's impossible to tell exactly what a system would look like, especially since we're moving away from the dollar that's been the world's reserve currency for so long. So it's impossible to tell, but I think that's missing the point. Like you said, it's preparing for all directions. Why you could have crypto, why you could have physical precious metals, why you could have 90% silver for trading and bartering, why you could have
Why you could
something like,
have bullets in a gun, why you can
right.
have
Yeah.
food, why you can have batteries in a flashlight. I mean, preparation is important. When you think in relation to insurance, you don't come home and say, shit, man, I paid my homeowner's insurance. Why didn't the house burn down while I was out to lunch? It's like you don't want these things to happen, but when you do come home and your house is in tinders and everyone's out safely, like, my God, thank goodness I paid my homeowner's insurance policy. So, it's one of these deals where it depends where you line up on the spectrum of, do you believe this is real or not? And I'll tell you something, dude. This is becoming really real to me, watching the way that these countries are lining up in unison and coordination, and the acceleration of the deals that are being struck, and the stupidity of our leaders and the decisions that they are making and the moves that they are making, destabilizing this country greater and greater and greater every single day. Now the number's up to 17 million that they're saying have entered this country illegally. Put that in perspective. 3% is over 500,000 people that could, want to do harm to this country. That's an army, more than a big army. And, 10,000 people per state that want to screw with the country. Is that real? Could that happen? That's only just a few percent, right? How about 10%? That's 1.7 million people. So when you talk about the things that this government has done to shake things up and make this country a shell of what it once was, that's a good place to do it. Now they're trying to give them voting rights with the Electoral College from the too stupid to be stupid category. So yeah, man, these are real times, and people should wake up and stop trying to time anything, and buy the metal and hope you never need to use it. And if you do, you're damn glad you have it. And if not, maybe it's a hell of an opportunity that arises, not just an emergency. You're very happy you have it. If not, you give it to your kids, knowing that it will be wealth much longer than we will be alive, and at least our generation. Uh, and let's just hope indeed that cooler heads prevail, and we get a change of administration in the office without even being political. It's just this current administration is doing things that I don't think most people shake their head at and say, what country do we live in?
Yeah. Look at these results. I made a poll 6 days ago, said, who's your vote? Who's your vote? And there's been 3.2 thousand votes in 6 days. 94% say Trump, 6% Biden. 94%. So it shows
I'd
my,
like to talk
yeah,
to the 6% and really get their, I mean, I'm not trying to be
yeah,
a dink. I'd like to know
it,
what their thinking is.
yeah.
Just tell me,
That's
what are you
still though,
really
like,
thinking? Like, how do you
they're
give
probably
this guy
trolling. They're
any
probably
vote?
trolling. Yeah. No, they're probably trolling. Like, 94% means like, I mean, I feel like some people just clicked 6%, like Biden just to be like funny or something. I feel like they don't even really believe that. If they do, then yeah, I'm curious too. But
Well, and
yeah,
that person right there, Mark Phillips, they give you two choices to give the illusion you have a choice. Like, this
yeah,
this current administration is saying you can't have a third party there. We won't let uh, Kennedy be there, and it has to be. And this is the first time since they started doing it in the '60s that it will be done without an audience, and that you have to be able to shut off the other person's microphone if they go over. I mean, they're just stacking the 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 debate against Trump, and yet he'll still do it. But again, what country do we live in? It's been done in front of an audience forever, except one time, and it should be, and they shouldn't have the ability to shut off the microphone, and there should be a third party represented if the people vote and want to see it. The whole thing just stinks to high heaven, man. This current administration is just beyond anything that I ever thought we'd see in the United States of America.
Actually, this is actually pretty interesting reading all these comments. Like, this is a really good insight. Like, this person says, whoever said they're voting for Biden is too far gone. There's no hope for you.
I agree with that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just that's just someone who just doesn't take the time to understand the numbers and the facts and the reality and just votes out of hatred for Trump.
This person said, I'm voting for Silver Slayer. This guy says, I'm voting for Andy Scheck, Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, but they won't let our Robert Kennedy there because,
Yeah,
whatever, they're afraid. They're just afraid, and it's just a tragedy.
yeah. Another person said Andy Scheckman. Man.
I inhaled though, as long as people understand that I inhaled, like I'm not going to lie about that, and if they'll let me be president. But the point of it is, those of you too young to remember, Clinton claimed he never inhaled when they asked him, "Did you smoke marijuana?" No, I never
Oh,
inhaled.
got you. I got you. I was like, okay. Yeah, that's interesting.
Liar.
Right. That's interesting, man. Like, it just shows the majority of stackers of, which side they lean on, I guess. Because if this was like a channel that was talking about makeup or some BS, I'm sure these results would be flip flopped. So yeah, but
It's interesting, but
yeah.
as it should be.
3.2 though. 3.2 thousand. That's a lot of votes in 6 days. Like 3.2 thousand votes. So
What two coins are you missing over your right shoulder?
Oh, I there's a couple I'm trying. I don't know. I really want one of the Carson City Morgans. I've always wanted one, but they're really expensive. So
The old ones?
yeah, like 1887 or something. I don't know. Like
Well, I
I
could
don't,
send you one maybe. When's your birthday?
yeah,
You tell me when your birthday is. I'm a big collector of Morgan silver dollars. I'd love
yeah,
them.
yeah. My birthday July 21st, so we're
Oh, it's
getting
coming up.
yep.
All
It
right.
is less than 2 months away. So yeah.
What's the other one?
I don't know yet. Those are all like that. That's one that I've always wanted. I don't know what other one. It's something like there's no like. It's not like it's a set or series or anything up there. It's just those are like my favorite slab coins that have like sentimental. Like my PF70 uh Moon Festival Panda. That was the first coin that I spent $100 on it. It was like right when I started stacking. I thought that thing was like the wickedest looking thing, and it was my channel logo. That actual design was my YouTube channel logo for years upon years. So like that coin just like that's what really, like formed me into a stacker, I feel like brought that love into it. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
just yeah, coins like that. But
I'll find you a
yeah,
Morgan silver dollar.
yeah, yeah. I always wanted like one that was Carson City though. I don't know why. I know
Well,
that's like
I mean, Carson City gold and silver are amazing. I once put together for a client all of the gold Carson City $20 gold pieces. The 1870 is the real tough one, and 71 is pretty tough too. But, you're talking the heart of, the coin collecting community. The Carson City silver dollars, the Carson City gold dollars, the Nevada, the gold rush, the whole thing, the West. It's just they're very cool, and even in circulated condition, they're super cool. So
mm,
I think that's one of the neat things about buying coins is that it can turn out as an investment and quickly turn into a hobby. But just remember, it's important to know what you're doing before you start buying, Moon Festival pandas or
yeah,
Carson City silver dollars or MS 70, anything, because ask yourself what you're trying to do first, and
Yeah.
you want, like when you build a hot fudge sundae, unless you're your young daughter may say, no, no, that's not how you do it. I would say you fill a bowl of vanilla ice cream and then put hot fudge and sprinkles on top. Kids may say, no, no, hot fudge and sprinkles and then a little ice cream.
Right.
But I think you want a bowl of vanilla ice cream, and which would be the bouillon, and then having
Yep.
some hot fudge, some sprinkles, and even a couple cherries is cool. And we're adept at being able to help people with that,
Yeah.
all of the above. But make sure, in my opinion, you build your base first of bouillon stuff. What other
Yeah.
questions we got? I got a few more minutes.
Yeah.
I can't believe that number one is the number one rule of money. Pay yourself first. I've been saying that forever.
Yeah. I'm starting to do that now.
My grandfather told me that it's the best thing you could ever do. If you don't pay yourself first, you never get out of the rat race
Yeah.
ever.
I've like witnessed, actually the reason I got into like investing and stuff was because like I always watched I mean my mom was 17 when she had me, a single parent, so we were always extremely poor, living paycheck to paycheck, and I was like, I don't ever want to live that way. So I like started looking into different things, and I found the silver community, luckily, and that like made the most sense. It clicked right away for some reason, much more than anything else did. But and I think my grandpa always sending me like constitutional silver on Christmas stuff. I think that planted the seed as well. This person says, if China backs away from Russia and the BRICS, how does this impact U.S. Treasury and gold?
I don't think China will do that.
Yeah,
I don't even think remotely close to it. In
there's
fact, they're
so many.
signing deals and getting closer and closer together. I
Yeah.
don't think that'll happen. If China
Um,
pulled away from Russia and BRICS, there would be no BRICS at that point, I don't think.
is if CBDC is implemented for control and rationing, how do I buy my products with gold and silver if they have to account for everything they have sold? It is my belief that CBDC will be implemented to control hyperinflation by controlling how much you can buy. I remember when the Bible said buy, sell, or trade.
Well, first of all, hyperinflation is not really created by how much you can buy. It's created by increase in the money supply. And if yeah, I mean, if they don't let you buy, it only gets worse. You're just stockpiling that money that's not going anywhere. You have hyper stagflation. And if a CBD is implemented for control and rationing, how do I buy my products? Well, people, maybe they don't want to take the CBDC. What do you have to trade if you don't have gold and silver? It gives you the ability to trade when others will have nothing to trade with. So yeah, I would say it's both of those questions. I understand what they're saying, but I think they're looking at them from the wrong angle. I would say, well, how do I trade if I don't have gold and silver in a CBDC? I'm stuck. And the other way would be, if the currency is inflating and they don't let you trade in it, well, you just have a lack of velocity, but you still have an increase in the money supply, and then you have the whole system collapse under a hyper stagflationary collapse with high prices with little or no economic movement at all. And so, I mean, that one's a little bit tougher to answer, but I would say he's asking the questions kind of backwards.
Yeah. Okay. Well, think we could wrap it up here, and hopefully we could hop back on next week. I don't know
Yeah,
what
I mean,
days you're free, but
my wife was in the hospital for a week, and so I've been a little spread thin for the last week. That I'll
yeah,
be back on schedule with you next week, and we'll do this on Tuesday every week, man. And as we should, and some we
yeah,
should even do it more than that because I think there's going to be
yeah.
a lot going on over the next few weeks leading up to the big BRICS meeting. You have a meeting today, as a matter of fact, the 28th in Russia, because remember we said there were 200 meetings leading up to the BRICS meeting. Today, it's the BRICS Plus and the deputy finance ministers and central bank governors. I mean, they're
Oh,
talking currency. They have to be.
yeah.
So,
Hmm.
things are starting to get exciting. I guess we'll see where it all ends up. But yeah, let's keep the ball rolling, and I look very much forward, buddy, to picking up where we left off. It's always a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely enjoy these. And I love getting the other, the audience involved too, and having them, be able to ask you questions. So yeah, everyone, I appreciate you all for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe because I do post daily videos. This was Silver Slayer. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.